2022 was a year of warring between the genders.
A lot of us do not seek to have understanding. We just seek to be heard.
Is this really useful in your real life?
Facts. Sometimes embracing that men ain't ish and women aren't to be trusted is the easy option.
But because it is profitable,
honest to God,
making them money.
We are addicted to the drama that comes with problematic content.
Right. Everybody is waiting for everybody else to step up, and it's like, maybe if you stepped up.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's episode, we need to leave the gender wars behind. That's what we're talking about. The misogyny, the red pill, the predators. Lock them up.
All of them.
All of them.
Thank you.
And their cohorts.
Yeah.
Yes, sisters.
And the man haters too.
Oh, and the man
we'll get
haters.
there though.
Oh, child. She fed everybody on the spectrum.
It's complex.
Everyone with no nuance. Pack your bags and go. Yeah, sisters, we are getting into 2023 and it is about time that we left the wars between the genders behind. Yeah. But before we get into the juiciness of that episode, we have a couple of housekeepings. And by a couple, we have one, which is this book.
The To My Sisters book is available to pre-order for everyone in the UK. Head to the link in the description. Head to the link in the show notes. Why are you holding it like you're auctioning it?
You know those girls, those like...
But also, sisters, we need your help. There is also going to be an audio version of the book. You know how pumped I am about that.
You know how exciting that's going to be.
Oh, it's basically going to be like chilling and gisting with your girls. We want this to be a audiobook experience. Jeez. And we want you to be included in that experience. And so because of that, we need you to send us ding, ding, ding dilemmas, okay? Because we want to include dilemmas in our book. Our book has different chapters in it, which are on different themes. And we want a dilemma to relate to a couple of those themes. So head over to our Instagram to find more information as to how your dilemma could possibly be a part of our audiobook. Wow. Because we want you to be co-authors of this sisterhood revolution.
It's us. Giving investors.
Yeah. We want you to be involved.
We want you to be involved.
But talking about investment. Yeah, okay, you take it.
Speaking about investment, no, listen how excited that we got over that link. It's giving Siamese twins.
It's giving segue.
Speaking about investment, would we be a sisterhood if we weren't investing in you? That's right, sisters. If you haven't already, if you're new on the block, if you have just by some weird reason missed our last episode, we are upping the stakes of the Vision Fund. No longer Vision Challenge. It's a Vision Fund.
There we go.
Because we will be giving one lucky lady 1,000 GBP. Come on. That's right, baby. At the time of conversion, I don't know what that converts to, wherever you're listening to this from. But we will be giving one sister 1,000 GBP by her articulating her vision for the year to us, equipped with a idea and, you know, we want a strategy and a plan as to how you're going to achieve some of those goals that you have in 6 months. So make sure you sign up. There will be an application form in the show notes, as well as the description, as well as the mailing list. So sisters, 1,000. We were up at the stakes, baby.
We're trying to give back, man. That's actually all it is. Like last year we were really, really adamant that we wanted to give a lot of what we got in terms of from the podcast, because the podcast is profitable. Thank you so much for supporting, for streaming, for listening, for buying tickets, for coming to events, for traveling, whatever it is. As a company, we're doing quite well, and we were very, very adamant that we wanted at least 10% of everything that we made, and not profit, everything we made to go back to the sisters, go back to the sisterhood, to go to charity. And last year we surpassed that, and we want to keep that up. So yeah, as we get more, we're going to be giving way more back. Absolutely.
So please send in your applications, because we want to give one lucky lady a whole bunch of P's.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of GBPs. But before we do get into the episode meat, we got to start with the starters.
Oh, okay.
And that's a ding, ding, ding.
Dilemma.
Alrighty ho. So, Hey,
Hey, lovely.
I just started watching your podcast yesterday and fell in love with your content.
Oh,
You
thank
ladies are
you.
brilliant.
Oh, thank you. We try.
I'm currently a 21-year-old senior in college, majoring in accounting, and I creatively write for a magazine. I make great money as an intern at my job, and I have a lot going for myself. I recently broke up with my ex of 2 years, who I believe is a great man, but I don't believe we are compatible as a couple.
I hear it.
He quit his job 4 months ago and has been financially and emotionally in a whirlpool that he just got me.
No, I'm sorry. I am sorry.
You know what it's reminding me of, though? You know when aunties are like, "Oh, sorry.
Pele,
It's
it's all right.
It's all right." He quit his job 4 months ago and has been financially and emotionally in a whirlpool that he just can't seem to get out of. Even though finances were tough, he was there emotionally for me, but I felt like I couldn't be there for him since he wasn't there for himself. I'm all about stability and asking for help, but he wasn't on the same page. He often spent recklessly, and when money started to get tight, I would take the stance to pay for things. He began to feel less of a man and wasn't confident with himself.
Right.
When we broke up, he called me selfish for not sticking with him through his problems. You're such an auntie. And that he gave me his all when, in my opinion, I don't think he should have gave his last if he didn't have much to spare. Also, my best friend and I are onto a bright road, which I love talking about to him, but after a while, it just sounded like he was jealous of the successes. Am I really selfish for putting myself, my future, and my morals first? Would I have been settling by staying with him, or did I let a good guy get away?
Oh,
that's hard, man.
It is, because I think we don't know enough about the situation and your relationship to kind of say whether it was a good thing you let go or whether you would have been settling with him. I think if you got with him and you saw a future together and everything was working out and the only thing that changed was the fact that he lost his job, it could have been there was a communication issue around, if this situation were to happen to us, how would we both react? Right. And sometimes even when you do those preliminary questions and you ask, scenario questions, as we often like to do, sometimes when that situation actually arises, you do react differently than what you said. Right. And I think if you establish an open line of communication in your relationship, you can also say, okay, why does this tickle you? Or why does this trigger you or upset you, the fact that you are not in the same financial place you were a couple months ago? I've stepped in to support you and it has made you upset. Why is that? Especially if they had previously expressed that I would be fine with it. Do you get what I mean? I think there needs to be greater communication, and I think these are the principal things which stand strong when situations change in relationships. I think there needed to have been communication around, what relationship do you have with money? What relationship do you have to your position in this relationship as maybe a traditional provider or maybe the leader in this financial way? How do you feel about me earning more than you? Or how do you feel about the fact you earn more than me? Is this something that matters to you? Is it a part of your identity? Is it something that, you're so attached to? Also, if we were in a different financial situation, how would you react? How would you want me to behave? Do you think we could make it through it? And it could be that you didn't ask these questions, or it could be that you did ask these questions, but the reaction actually didn't match up. And I think that that's okay. But I think we can't say whether you lost a good thing or whether you settled, but what we can say is you did what was best for you in that moment. And if that's the case, and his reaction kind of told you maybe this isn't the relationship we should be in right now, I think it's still worth kind of assessing for yourself, then what sort of relationship do you want to be in the future? Right. Not that it will be absent of struggle or absent of a change in circumstance, but it should have a different system or a different culture. So it could be that you're now looking for, or now that you've experienced this, it's a great lesson that you're now going to carry into future relationships, which you're going to have. And so it's good to know that, okay, I put myself first. Finances matter to me. Making sure that I have stability matters to me. But also, what sort of partner am I looking for? And what is their relationship with work? And what is their relationship with money? And what relationship do I want us to cultivate surrounding work, career, and money as well? And I think once you then set that vision, you can then ask the right questions, and you can then do maybe what didn't work, or look for the red flags that may have been in your partner prior that you missed, things like that. So I think all you can take from this situation, because you cannot go back and change it, is lessons and wisdom that you can apply in the future. And I think I just wanted to highlight that to you, that, you know, you could have dodged a bullet, you may have missed the, you know, a good thing, we don't know, but at least you are not staying in something which makes you uncomfortable, and at least you are taking lessons into how to make the next thing better. How about you?
That was such a mature response, Courtney.
I tried my best to mature
it's
a lot.
giving growth. But as you grow older, you realize, and as you have more conversations and you have more community around you, especially with men, you realize that sometimes, I think you are absolutely right in saying that it's hard to judge if you've let a good man go away. I don't think that the question is whether the man is good and whether you got away in time. I think were you compatible with your values around money, finances, and like masculinity, femininity. I know that for some guys, money and being the provider is a really, really important thing for them, and it's not necessarily something that's always negative, although it can have negative manifestations. Like, for example, in this case, at least for you, you don't necessarily, in, you know, the reality of the situation, you have a different culture or different value when it comes to money and finances, especially when you're at your last. Whereas with this guy, it seems that being a provider or being quote unquote the man, or having their masculinity attached to this really, really important part of your relationship is that actually I want to give my last in order to provide. Now, it's not necessarily, again, a question of good and bad. It's a question of compatibility. And I think what you, as Courtney so rightly said, is have ascertained that, okay, maybe in this particular circumstance, this doesn't work out for me. And it's not, you know, quite right. I think around the like jealousy thing as well, I don't think it's as black and white as this guy being jealous of you. I think there's also some self-esteem issues that may be wrapped up in that as well, because I can imagine that, you know, you being in a sticky financial situation and your babes is doing well, as much as that's an amazing thing, it can be really hard if you have tied a portion of your masculinity to how much you can provide. So this is not to, you know, absolve him of, you know, any kind of like negative things that he may have done as a result of that jealousy, but it's to recognize that jealousy is a valid emotion to have in that particular circumstance if he has those financial and those kind of like beliefs and values around, you know, masculinity and provision. I think it's definitely a little bit more complicated. I think it's definitely a learning curve as well. It's like, actually, in terms of how I want to work with someone in a relationship and how, you know, money plays into that, you've now ascertained that perhaps I don't feel too comfortable with this guy giving his absolute all the time. And perhaps I want somebody that has a more even footing, or a more, I guess, 50-50 idea of how we want to split finances, or if we were in this particular circumstance, this is how I would envision or how I would like things to go. So I think at least you've learned that and you feel comfortable with that. I would definitely avoid, you know, talking about whether this is a good man or a bad man. I think he's just a man with different values, different cultural beliefs, and he's going through a tough time, and it's a shame.
That's the thing. He's going through a tough time.
And it's a shame. I think definitely we'd need to know more in terms of like, is this something that he's been struggling with for a long period of time? Like, is there any kind of receipts, or if there's any behaviors or patterns that are you know, being made apparent to you over a course of time, then it would be potentially a red flag, at least to you. So yeah, I think it's a great learning curve. I think it's time for you to really figure out what is it that you want moving forward in a relationship with somebody else, and being very quite clear and very quite introspective around like how finances and what kind of circumstances can arise in, you know, 10 years, 5 years, even tomorrow, Lord knows anything. But just being concrete on your values moving forward, I think, is the biggest lesson that you can have here.
That's good.
But we're sending you lots of love, sis, and also an extension, sending love to your ex-boyfriend, hoping that you know, he also finds a community. This is where you really need. Well, it will be a great segue into the gender wars. But
and also, sis, well done on your career.
Honestly, well done. And you and your best friend, yes, we love to see the girls getting it together. Hello. But sending lots of love to your ex-boyfriend as well, because definitely, I think in terms of having male community, where we are not just talking about the fast cars and the money and stuff like that, but talking about the reality of trying to make a living and then trying to be, you know, masculine, and trying to have those awkward conversations can often be difficult. So sending him lots and lots of love. But I think that's actually a wonderful segue.
A beautiful one.
Wonderful segue into the topic of today's episode, which is the gender wars. We're going neck and neck.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's given WWE.
It is.
But the reason we really wanted to talk about this and talk about this early on in the year is because we got to drop it. We got to drop it.
Facts.
2022 was a year of warring between the genders. And you know what? It's not that I don't think it hasn't existed, but the platforming, this is what a man wants. This is what a woman
Social
wants. This is what you
media
bring to the
was
table. What
ruthless.
do you bring to the table?
table.
All sorts of
The podcasts, the male podcast, the women's
somebody
of the
was
podcast.
oh my goodness gracious.
Everyone
God.
was talking and people should have been quiet.
You know, even as we are in season 4, guys, we can attest that when we bring people onto this episode, onto this podcast, yeah, they're going to be vetted seriously. But also, it's about intentionality and what you want to say.
Yeah.
Like, really, what do you want to say? Beyond
motives.
kind of, right. It's about motives and intentions. Is it something like when you are bringing people onto podcasts, platforming yourselves and all that kind of stuff, what is the intention behind what you're doing? And is the way you're doing it the right way to go about it? These are questions I have in my mind as I have consumed some of this content in the past and quickly clicked off. No, there's some folks that dead ass. I'll see some YouTube shorts.
Yeah, I don't want it.
I don't want to see
And that
this.
is how you curate your feed. But that's another
That's
conversation.
another
for another day.
conversation.
Stay tuned.
I wanted to actually start with
Yeah.
what was, and I don't know if it still is, but what was this obsession with warring against the genders? Like, it would
Power.
be good to know. Courtney, CDB,
That's me.
shed some light. What is this apparent obsession? Because it's clear that it's a two-party thing,
Yeah.
right? Where folks are creating this kind of content, but also folks are having these conversations, but people are actually listening into these conversations and platforming them and, you know, giving the views and all that kind of stuff. What is it about this unfortunate, you know what, I was thinking of the word in French, malheureusement. Ooh, this maladie.
It's given she's bilingual.
What is this unfortunate preoccupation with this like war between the genders? Like, why were we so obsessed with it in 2022?
One is power, right? Like trying to gain power over one another. And this conversation is going to be pretty binary, but and heteronormative, but I will say most of this happened, unfortunately, in the hetero space. So to the rest of y'all, well done for getting through 2022.
Staying out of all that
Staying out of this rubbish. But us heterosexuals, we was messing up. So I will say that. But I would say it seems like there was this group of men and a group of women who were like, I think this of men, or I think this of the opposite. And I'm going to exert that opinion and I'm going to state how I feel about those people as if it were fact. And I'm going to then leverage or ride on the waving hands of the people who also resonate with my pain and who also resonate with my previous experiences and have as much passion about this, even though it was misdirected, who have as much anger, passion and pain surrounding this as I do, who will allow me to ride on their views, who will allow me to ride on their comments and their things kind of fueling me and encouraging me. And I think that gives a person an inflated sense of ego, an inflated sense of confidence, and it also allows them to rise up to have more influence than they really should. And I think that feeling of power becomes addictive. I also think the desire to have power over others, to tell women what they are or are not, to tell a man what they are or are not, is also very addictive and very tempting. And I think a lot of us do not seek to have understanding. We just seek to be heard. And it's unfortunate that when we engage in conversation nowadays, it's not in a pursuit of a truth. It's more so in, this is what I think, and I want you to either validate what I think or give me the opportunity to invalidate what you think, rather than us actually have intelligible, productive conversations. And that's why I hate the fact that a lot of the content out right now is not productive. And this is not me dissing or thinking, you know, TMS is this creme de la creme elite thing. I just think to myself, after you've listened to that, what have you left with? Because you're always going to leave with something, right? Whether you just listen for entertainment, whatever. If you don't come with the critical mind, you're going to leave having something impressed on you, right? Whether you've picked up somebody's opinion, their way of perceiving the world. And I don't think that bad content shouldn't be engaged with. The same way I don't think that people who I disagree with should be silenced. But I do think there should always be an avenue to have good conversation. And it seems like people just want to put things out there, but they don't want to conversate, because it's like, no, I'm just saying what I think. Why?
Some of y'all don't be thinking when you saying too.
And the thing is, you're thinking, but your thinking is wrong. And someone needs to correct you on that, because what you're saying could be harmful. Right. It could be damaging. And also it's not helpful for you. Right. And I think that's another thing about social media, and even with gender wars, is we've seen so many people rise in terms of popularity and rise in terms of their income because of that popularity. Like, look at somebody like Andrew Tate. But all of that happens, and then you realize this is a shady person, right? And whilst people, you may not agree with their politics, I think it's important for creators and also for people who speak to realize that the person you are actually matters, right? But even if you don't realize that, the people listening to you should care about that, right? What is the character? What is the track record? What is the criminal history? What is the what is the viewpoint of this person who I'm listening to and supporting, but also allowing to influence me and shape the way that I receive the world? And I think we became obsessed with gender wars last year because people didn't know how to channel their frustration. And I wouldn't call it pain. I wouldn't call it, you're just bitter. You have daddy issues. You have mummy issues. I think we are all very complex. And based on our history, based on our past, based on our childhoods, whatever, all the things they'll tell you in therapy, we've all landed at the place that we are at. Yeah. But I think a lot of us are frustrated. We are frustrated maybe at the people in our own lives, the experiences that we have had, or we are just we're frustrated with what we keep seeing. And then in our frustration, we are quick to speak. And it's like, then you're spewing foolishness instead of actually appreciating the art of understanding, but also wisdom. And I think that if you wouldn't appreciate understanding, you wouldn't appreciate wisdom, you wouldn't appreciate even discipline, like actually disciplining the things that you say and being more thoughtful of the words that you say, you wouldn't appreciate any of those beautiful values if you do not seek resolution. And I think a lot of us are also addicted to the conflict. We are addicted to the Twitter threads. We are addicted to the story times. We are addicted to the drama that comes with problematic content.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, that's a long-winded answer.
No,
it's
I absolutely love that. As you were speaking, it made me think of Dragon Ball Z, or like, those games where it's like, pick your fighter.
Yeah.
It feels like with a lot of the content that we see around gender wars and the rise of some of these prominent figures, it's very much a pick your fighter to express some of the upsets and trauma and the things that you've been feeling in your own life that you don't feel like you can adequately express in the problematic way that cannot be utilized. Because obviously we're speaking about, folks like Andrew Tate and other folks that are in the red pill content side of stuff. But equally, there are, the rise of very prominent figures on the women's side of stuff that are extremely, extremely hateful, extremely harmful as well, and very just unnuanced, lacking of nuance. And I think when it comes to, as you were saying, gender wars, it really is about power, and it really is about feeling powerful. And I think that because many of us are so addicted to social media, we're so addicted to feeling this intimacy with people online, we start to use these people online as proxy for our feelings and emotions, not knowing that it's a two-way street, right? It's not just about you dumping off and feeling like they're representing you, but you're also picking up deposits of whatever they are spewing or sharing online without doing your due diligence. Is this really useful in your real life?
Facts.
I think we really need to ask ourselves this question.
That's my issue with the whole gender wars. I don't mind having heated conversations. You guys know, I don't shy away from telling men what 100%. I think, or telling women what I think.
100%.
But I think why I hate the way it's playing out for a lot of us is, do we want healthy relationships in our generation or not? A question I was asking one of my friends was, do you think our generation sucks at relationships? And they were saying, not more than any other generation. It's just our generation doesn't actually want to succeed. I said, that's fine. Burn it all. And I think we have that burn it all mentality. I think so many of us have become hopeless. And we have seen, increased rates of divorce, more problematic relationships displayed to us. Whereas and this is why he was saying, like, it's not that we are more problematic. People have always been problematic since the dawn of time.
Hello.
It's just their problems were behind closed doors. But now everyone's problems are on screen.
Out the dirty laundry and more.
So it's like now that you see the reality of the fact that relationships are hard work, the fact that relationships are not hunky-dory all the time, and that they actually take effort and development and change. Once you start to see all of that, you're kind of like, I don't want it. Once you start to see as well that people are flawed and that you don't just get this perfect polished version of people, whether man or woman, you don't get, people aren't perfect. They're unlearning, they're growing and growing, they're in a process. And sometimes that can make it seem like, damn, so I got to stick around while you're figuring things out. Why haven't you figured things out already? And it's like, but you haven't figured things out already. What the hell are you talking about? And I think there's that hypocrisy sometimes that comes to it. And it makes me upset because it's like, do we want to repair this? And I think that's the thing about this podcast, about our sisterhood and this community in general. It's about, do you want to be better or not? Right? No judgment if you don't. Because living on that side, living in freedom, it actually takes responsibility, right? It takes communicating. It takes holding yourself accountable. It takes finding community. It takes serving people. It takes all these things of effort. And sometimes allowing yourself to just remain angry, to just remain hopeless is easier. And that goes for relationships and our viewpoints on relationships too. Sometimes embracing that men ain't ish and women aren't to be trusted is the easy option, right? As much as it fills you with rage, as much as it fills you with anger, it's easy.
It is. I think what is actually great about the point you've raised is it feeds into the question that I wanted to ask you around. So what are the ramifications and implications of the gender wars in real life? Like,
no, because we need to talk about real life, because you guys think this is just the internet and the internet's for play.
It's not play. Oh my God, bring your boxing gloves. You want to fight me online? I'm gonna fight you in real life, baby. What do you think this is?
A quotable, bruh. So I think, first of all, it affects our intimate relationships because we go in there operating on assumptions.
Do you know how wild it is? You'll meet some crazy people. Well, folks that are behaving crazy because of what they've seen online.
Bruh. And it's not even how they would naturally operate. It's just what they've... So I remember like dating apps, right? And then you'll be talking to somebody and then they'll be like, oh, so I know girls of this generation want... I know girls of this generation act like... I know you girls think like... Don't assume anything about me. I am an individual.
Thank you.
And I think that that's something that we are lacking appreciation of more and more because of social media, and because when people talk, they make these sweeping statements. All people are like this. All men are like this. All women do this. Men this, women that. And you start to become coached into thinking women and men are these monolithic creatures in which somebody has come on Twitter, written, 150 characters talking about this woman didn't pay on the date, women are trifling, and because it's got so many retweets, you think it's a fact. It's not a fact. It's an experience. It's a valid experience, but it's not a fact. And then when you start to then treat individuals with those assumptions, you're going to ruin your intimate relationships, because I am not the feed. I am not the person. I am not the tweet. I don't even know the girl that, skipped out on him. Right. I'm not her, or he's not him, or they're not them. And I think it's important to remind yourself that like you need to treat people as individuals. It could be a talking point, and I think this is why you have to approach things with a bit more tact. I don't know if people need to start reading books to understand the art of conversation or what, but like you don't come at people with an attack, because what you're saying is, I know who I am. I don't need to change, but I have seen X, Y, Z in you. This all needs to change, and I'm going to come at it and force you to be molded into the perfect idea I want by assuming there are these things wrong with you, instead of coming and asking, what is your viewpoint on this, right? And this person may come and fulfill every trope, but then you use wisdom to say, I don't want this person, right? This person can also dispel all of those tropes, and then you haven't given them a chance because you're already on guard with trust issues that weren't even yours in the first place. Right. These trust issues were projected onto you. No woman in your life has ever done XYZ to you. No man in your life has ever done XYZ for you. And yet you don't trust men because of the stories that you've read on the timeline. Go out there and experience some stuff for yourself. And I'm not saying this because it's easy, and I'm not saying this because, you know, wisdom can't be gained by learning other people's experience. But baby, this isn't wisdom that you're gaining. This is just hearsay. This is just experiences. These are just stories. And it's important. Wisdom is taking the lesson from a situation. Wisdom isn't saying, I'm not going to go out and live because when somebody went out and they touched fire, they got burned. I'm going to stay inside, wrapped up, protected, coddled, never trusting anything that has any degree of heat. That's not how life works. What you say is, I'm not going to put my hand in the fire, but I can stand by the fire. I can observe a fire. I can use fire for good. I can light a candle, but I'm not going to say, I don't want any fire in the world, in my life. And fire has no use because somebody got burnt once. That's not how life works. And so if you are going to use social media, just take it as, I wouldn't even say precautionary, just different examples that you can take wisdom from. And I think this year we need to learn how to deduce wisdom out of what people are saying, even if it is presented with boldness and rage or, you know, heightened emotions.
Right.
We can just take what we need and then spit out the rest.
That's good.
Yeah. I think another ramification it's having though is people are becoming too big for their boots. People are becoming way too big for their boots. They think they can talk to anybody anyhow. I'm gonna need some people to get home training. It doesn't matter what age you are. Home training is universal. All of us can get it. Some aunties need it. Some uncles need it. Home training is something that, and when I say home training, I'm talking about manners, courtesy, respect, self-respect, shame.
Heavy. You know when you were moving to get the mashed potatoes, the semolina, the fufu, heavy helping.
I personally think, but what do you think are some of the ramifications?
Completely agree with everything that you have said. Yeah. And I think it's also impacting just the way that we view people. Like there is some weird dehumanization process that comes with indulging in all of these caricatures of genders, right? It's, if you don't fit this particular bill, I can't consider you as somebody that's dateable, someone to be around, somebody that's safe to be around. It's thinking that if you don't decide that you want to tap dance and be exactly how I have envisioned you, exactly as how the monolith of men online have envisioned you, then I can't be with you or I can't be around you. And it's the demanding so much more, but also demanding less at the same time. It's like
providing less.
Right. It's like everybody is waiting for everybody else to step up. And it's like, maybe if you stepped up. And I think that's one thing that really frustrates me about like the very extreme red pill, but then the very extreme blue pill, because I think both sides have valid criticisms or valid things that they're sharing around the way that we interact as men and as women. But the delivery and the hyperfixation on very menial points in the grand scheme of things, I'm just like, is everything okay? Why are you so angry and bitter?
And also, why have you made a whole doctrine around your pain? Just because your pain was valid didn't mean it was right.
And it's because it's profitable.
And that's the thing about the whole, this is why we need to lead the gender wars behind.
Some of you guys are being bamboozled.
You're being hoodwinked.
Like, people are creating this content not because they care about it. Not because they care about it, mind you, but because it is profitable.
Honest to God.
It is making them money. Okay, not just in terms of the content, but also in the subscription fees and the memberships on how to hate women.
Genuinely, guys, there are people who are coming on the internet talking about men ain't this, don't trust this. They shut off the camera and then they go and lay down to like with their husbands in their nice house, being paid for by you listening to their BS. You know that's what my frustration is.
This is so left field, but you know what this reminds me of? What? You know Derek Jackson.
Mr. Derek has returned from season 2 onto the To My Sisters podcast season 4 as a divorced man who filed for divorce from his wife after he cheated on her and it became public. And you know what's so funny? He was out on the internet talking about if a man don't do this, if a man don't do that. And again, hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, taken for a fool. We don't want that to be you. And this is why the people no matter how good the advice is, the source of the advice actually matters.
Right.
And
Ooh,
it demonstrates to you a lack of integrity. And I'm going to need more of us to be integral. If you want a platform, if you want to lead, if you want to say your thoughts out loud, I'm going to need you to be integral.
You gotta match that energy,
You've
bro.
got to match that
Gotta
energy.
match it.
And that's the problem, because people are going to inspect you. The same place that the water is coming from is the same place that the inspector goes to.
100%.
Because you got to know if the source is all right. And so much of it is predatory, not just because people, want to get bare girls or they want to get bare man or whatever. People want money, okay? The creator economy is booming, and a lot of this a big perk of going viral is more people want to listen to you, and then you're selling subscriptions, you're selling ebooks, you're doing all these things, and it's like it's all built on a lie. And that's not what we want you to experience, because it doesn't help you. As much as you're thinking it's helping you, it's not, it's helping them. And that's not to say don't support creators. We're creators. We put out content for people to consume on a weekly basis, right? If you're listening to this, you're consuming our content. But our desire is that consumption produces good fruits, that it produces good things out of it. But a lot of people don't care that they're feeding you poison. They just want you to eat it. And that's not what we want for you. And that's what a lot of the gender wars is. Like, it's very much... And I'm not saying that, you can't say things which aren't right. I'm just saying it in terms of the people who repeatedly do it and they don't want to listen to feedback, because there's a place for correction. There have been times, you guys have listened to the podcast and been like, didn't like how you approached this, didn't like how you said that. But because it's a community, it's a place for correction. Let us know so that we can change, we can refine, or maybe we can actually agree to disagree. But a lot of people don't care about the refinement. They don't care about the fact that it's hurtful. They don't care about the fact that it's harmful. They care about the clicks, they care about the views, and they care about the money. Right. And they'll continue to... The perfect example of this is Kevin Samuels. And you can say to me, oh, well, that man, Lord rest his soul. You can say, well, no, he must have really believed in what he said. How can you believe in such toxicity, right? And such a hypocritical ethos? And the reason why you can kind of prove and sense when somebody is living in hypocrisy, they won't test out what they put out. Or their life is living contradictory because the formula that they're putting out doesn't actually work.
Bring the receipts.
Derek Jackson is a perfect man should do this. A perfect man should do that. How can you create this illusion of a perfect man and yet you are not one? How do you have all of this knowledge and the knowledge is not manifest? And I'm meant to then take it as wisdom. Surely there's proof that actually your science, it ain't right. It ain't right. There's an issue. Why? Because you can't give me a result. You can't give me a proof. I think it's important to be living proof of the wisdom you hold. It's important to be the embodiment of the wisdom that you hold, right?
You know what's funny? There's I was literally just thinking, like, we need to build before we create. So many of us just skip to the platform. And this is not to say that you can't have a platform. This is not to say that you can't share your opinion. But when you posit yourself as an expert or expertise, or if you're coming to be the voice of the voiceless, you better make sure that you went to school.
Come on. Ooh.
And I don't mean formal institutions or nothing like that. I need
Even
to know
school of life.
that you went to the school of life, the school of business, the school of community, the school of relationships. I need to see your credentials. Much like when you're applying for a job, you got to give them a CV. We don't do CRB checks anymore. We got to do CRB checks. Okay, what are people around you saying about you, about your character? Creators, as much as we've embraced this decentralized platform of social media and all of this kind of stuff, creators can often be the ones that, worm through the cracks because no one did their CRB checks. And then it becomes a fanfare and all sorts of nonsense when all sorts of things start appearing about them on the internet. This is why, even before you consume content, do your CRB checks.
Yeah, and also know what you need.
Right.
And know and be able to distinguish for yourself. Have a BS radar. Like, just have good discernment. Have an ability to really filter through, this might not be good. Right. Or maybe actually what you're saying lacks nuance. It lacks critical thought. It's just full of a whole bunch of desire to exert power, gain money, ulterior motives, basically. Have a good detection of that. Another thing that I was going to say is it will backfire on you. A lot of people, not the listener, the creator, it will backfire on you once you find out Kevin Samuels is dead. Andrew Tate is arrested. Derek Jackson is divorced. The men that were standing at the top of the totem poles for a lot of this stuff, they ain't in the best place right now. And I need, no. Let's be honest, because I think it's also important to inspect the fruit of what people have. For that one. It's fine. I don't care. I'm not saying this because I want to see a guy who holds that way of thinking, and I mean specific, not but somebody with a lesser degree. No, somebody with as extreme views as that, who was on the forefront of that kind of movement of the red pill content or whatever. Right? Show me one of them who is successful in marriage, successful in business, successful at health. Show me one of them. I want to see somebody who has the fruit that this works. I would love to see it.
And you're actually building something that's not from this community.
Thank you. Thank you. No, your business cannot be I sit on podcasts and talk. No. What gave you the qualifications to go on the podcast and talk? That's what I want to know personally for me. And that doesn't mean you can't be a work in progress on the 100%. Internet. But if you are a work in progress, it requires a whole bunch of humility and say you are. Say that you are not an expert and you are just sharing your opinion, and you have the right to change your opinion. You have the right to be disagreed with. Your audience has the right to call you up on certain things. That's completely fine with me. We can all be works in progress. That's fine. But as soon as you make yourself an example, and I'm so sick of people taking platforms and yet refusing to take up the responsibility of being an example. Hello. If you're going to have a platform, if you're going to have people who are putting their eyes on you, giving you their ear, putting their trust in you to shape and define their norms, their values, the way they process the world, you have to take up the responsibility of that fact. Of the fact that, like with us, do you think that as the seasons of the podcast go on, that we are not more careful with the words that we say, the level of compassion that we have to have, the level of wisdom and knowledge we have to go and acquire, but even more so the level of integrity we have to have as people, the more words we release on this podcast? We have these thoughts, right?
The levels of accountability that we have to seek as we look.
The way we have to treat the people in our lives.
I think that's even another thing, right? It's so funny that for a lot of creators and a lot of folks that are, trying to get to a place that is higher than when they currently are, their accountability decreases. Whereas really your accountability means the further you go, the higher up you go in any profession, in any space, whatever, even in relationships, the further you go, you need more accountability.
Bruh.
Because the stakes are higher. And we forget, even when we're, we don't take this podcast. This is not a podcast to us anymore. This podcast, y'all are listening to TMS, the podcast, but TMS is so much more than that. This is an organization where we really care about the women that we're engaging with. We're investing our own money,
our own time. We don't get paid to do TMS, by the way. We are sitting here basically as volunteers.
That's on our vision list, Lord,
Amen.
of the
Hallelujah,
work that we're
Jesus.
doing. Please agree with us, sisters. Thank you. God bless.
You said, universe girls, speak to it. Start speaking. Start saying your
Everybody,
words.
all of us, look, our sisters of every faith, y'all, we need all the prayers. But we do this because we genuinely care about the state of affairs in womenhood. We genuinely want to utilize this community as a space to invest in other women. We want to see other women rise. This isn't just about us having a popular platform. It's not just about us speaking things. We actually do things. Like we host events, we host all sorts of things. We spend our own coin, our own money. This is not our own energy. We're being funded by anybody else. This is our own money, our own energy, our own brains, our own wisdoms. We're out here reading, accumulating. We're out here praying. We're out here.
Even that, we're out here using the pain that we have been through to give you something. We are using our lives literally as guinea pigs. Guinea pigs for you.
Ensuring that we are the same in private as we are in public.
Literally. Sorry to bring up the book, but literally everything that we've written in this book. No. Sorry to bring up the book, but everything we've written in this book, we share intimate stories of our lives. And one thing I loved about writing this and reading your parts and my parts was our lives have been a living testament of the values that we've written down and the lessons we have written down. We are not talking about things from abstract. We've actually decided to lay ourselves down for people as a living testament of what sisterhood can do, of what personal development can do, of what faith can do. And I think it's important to acknowledge the vulnerability. And so many of you do, and we really do appreciate it. But we know it's a vulnerable position. And to have to factor into the fact that if I'm having a down day or a down season,
Right.
I've got to remind myself that one of the motivations for me to get back up, or one of the motivations that I have to have in order to do the hard things, is this. And that can sometimes be annoying. Because without this, it would be easier to give up on a lot of things or not show up in the way that I should in a lot of things. And so I think it's important to remember that if you are going to be a thought leader, you need to take the burden of a leader on. You have to, because too many people want to be thought leaders, but you wouldn't lead a nation. Why wouldn't you see your online community as you leading a nation, you leading a governing or leading a group, a body of people, which is why we constantly have to remind ourselves that this isn't a social media platform. We don't let people call us the YouTube, the To My Sister's YouTube channel. This is not a YouTube channel. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement, but more importantly, this is a community. And it reminds us in our hearts that you are taking care of people. You are creating a culture. You are taking care of people's welfare. That is a duty.
Excellent.
That is an honor. And it requires you to take up the burden as such. Most people don't want to do that. They just want to talk. They just want to think.
They just want to talk. And then on the part of folks that are consuming this content or consuming this kind of words, consumption can be all consuming. I think sometimes we can consume things and listen to them and think that we're not being changed we're not being like transformed by them. Human beings are more porous than we like to give ourselves credit for. The things that we are around, and I guess because many of us that are older, and this even speaks to the fact that there's young people that are listening to these kind of things and reproduce. Like, it makes me think of, this is such a tangential but related point. It makes me think of what is it doing to the youth where they're currently watching Netflix and YouTube and all this kind of stuff, where we have high schoolers that are played by grown men and women.
But we were High School Musical. Charmaine was like
27. But they
27.
was acting like high schoolers. They were out here sniffing like Xanax.
Okay,
what I'm saying?
okay,
I
I get you. Yeah.
I think we need to be. That could even be a whole episode, child. This whole child we see.
Euphoria,
Elite. We got a lot going on.
God,
that's a whole.
What is it? One of Us is Lying.
One of Us is Lying.
Yeah,
where we're seeing a lot of these narratives, a lot of these things that are portraying what youth should look like, but the youth that's being portrayed looks very grown, and it's like that's so good. What's the saying? Like, life imitates art, art imitates life. It's a two-way street. So don't think that you're not being affected because I'm a critical thinker, I'm nuanced and all that kind of stuff. You aren't as nuanced as you think you are, and you're not like. Genuinely, this is why we say curate your feeds, curate the information, curate your community, because what you allow in becomes a part of you, right? I love the saying that's like, you are a addition of the 5 closest people that you have to you. You are also the sum of the 5 like most consistent things that you listen to, or you watch, or you
you are what you eat.
You are what you eat. Some of y'all, what you're eating is gross. You're eating expired items. Some of it is gross. It's disgusting. You know what it reminds me of? You know, gross. You ever had that friend where, you know, they bring something to eat and you're
sorry.
Like, this is this,
all my friends
you like this, or like where there's like somebody
combo.
Do you know what I mean? They have a really strange combination, or like they're eating food that's like, I don't know how you eat that.
Oh, how do you eat that?
This is actually bad food for you. It's not even that it smells, this is bad food.
Is this food at all?
This food or you know, they may have like a habit of, like, for example, smoking cigars or something. You're just like,
how can you do that?
Why are you consuming that, even though on the label? Because we can't always just put it on the creators. When I think of smoking cigarettes, for example, it comes smoking
you are
kills.
in your big bag today.
Smoking kills. And if you choose to consume it, you must understand this will kill you.
Simple.
There are some folks, even when I think of like your Kevin Samuels or your Andrew Tate or stuff like that, I think sometimes what they do is very much on the tin.
Yeah.
And if you now choose to consume that, then you will have to bear with the consequences, not online, but in real life, of manifesting these things that they're sharing with you.
And you also have to accept that you cannot go to them to blame them because you chose to consume.
You know what makes me laugh? That, you know, Liver King?
Yeah.
There was one guy that made a video that's like, I've been eating raw liver for the past like 2-3 years, thinking that I've got... I don't know who you thought you were appealing to.
Everyone's at fault.
And then did you think you could come on YouTube to tell Liver King that you've been eating liver and he's going to move? No.
You didn't have to.
You did not have to.
But the responsibility really is on both parts, because he really did lead people astray. That was deceiving.
That man, this is why you actually have to do your own research though, because there's so many symptoms. Even looking at someone like Liver King, there were some people that challenged whether he was natural or not, and they were like, he's displaying the symptoms of somebody that is taking steroids. Many of us are not doing our research to be able to understand and see the symptoms.
Listen, there is something that you guys know, and you often tell us we are very intelligent people. One of the main skills that we learned through our education, our formal education, was cross-referencing.
Oh, man.
If you want to really know if something is right, you got to cross-reference. If someone else hasn't talked about it, if somebody else hasn't addressed it, critiqued it, agreed with it, it's not really a point that holds a lot of weight, right? A lot of you need to not take things alone. Stop taking single doses. Okay? Mate. Stop drinking from one place. This is the only place you will become it, and it will become you. This is the only source of knowledge I get. This one thing, this one book, this one speaker, this one podcast. Diversify.
And question the body. Question what the body is saying. Because sometimes it's not even just a case of like cross-referencing, but questioning the body of work. It makes me think of like history or like English and stuff, where it's like you will have a canon or a body of writers that are known for speaking in this particular way.
Yeah.
So it's not even just like, oh, there's one person that's writing or saying this, but there may be a whole host of people that are saying this. That doesn't mean they're right. And that doesn't mean that that's fact. That's just their accounting.
It's just a school of thought.
It is just a school of thought. When people understand that, because I think that sometimes we'll listen to people and they'll be hearing like a whole host of people thinking that this is the world. No. This is a body. This is a school of thought. This is, I think of like this is a subset. The subset is not the entire set. Sometimes you have to challenge yourself to step outside. Go outside. Sometimes we need to actually go outside. Some of us.
That's another thing. Get offline. This year, come offline often. Just come offline often. When you're online, listen to us. But when you're offline, listen to your friends.
Stop it. Stop.
Overconsumption will kill you.
Like, I love me a good podcast. I love being on a good podcast. But if you're constantly listening to podcasts that are just people fighting, why are you fighting online like this? Why am I listening to? I'm going for a walk.
We do not desire a life.
Maybe you're trying to get into the zone when you're running. Yeah. Pow,
no. That was Shuri when she was fighting Killmonger. Black pow pow.
It's a little bat spot. It's a little bit of that. But to be listening to that all the time,
it's too much.
You don't get tired. I get tired.
I get exhausted.
There'll be some things that I see on YouTube and it will just pop up on my algorithm. I'm like,
not interested. That not interested button on TikTok, on Instagram, on every social media platform, on YouTube has been a blessing. Don't show me this again. Ever.
I don't want to see it.
I'm not interested.
So sisters, I need everybody to go outside.
Please.
I need you to, put on your outdoor shoes.
Please.
Just be thinking, even as you're looking at people's tweets, contents, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Take your outdoor shoes and put them on. And also have conversations with real people.
Please.
If you're finding that the majority of content that you're consuming about men is from online, you need to make male friends. And vice versa, if you're a guy, because I feel like there's a lot of, when I think of like incels and stuff like that, I just know you don't have any female friends. I know you don't talk to your sister. I know you might not have a good relationship with your mother. These are opportunities. Rather than you building this community around hate, this is time and opportunities for you to cultivate love.
That's so good.
That's your opportunity. Yo, there's times where it's like I'll see some wild thing about men on like Twitter or whatnot, and it's like, oh, this has actually perked up a little something. I will go and speak to my brother. I will speak to my male friends.
A talking point.
I will speak to my mentors. I'll be like, yo, this is what the online streets are saying. Not to say that this is you, but I would be interested to hear your opinion on this because I rate your opinion highly.
Yes.
Stop internalizing the opinions of people that you do not rate highly just because they are of the opposite gender.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, Renee, that's
Do
good. not
think that just because this guy or this random guy online has said, oh, he hates when women does da 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 da. Okay.
That's your opinion.
I'm not even looking for you.
I don't care.
I'm not checking for you. And vice versa for our mandem as well, because I ain't gonna lie to you, there are some sisters that are also trifling out here. And we have checked a lot of the sisters over the course of, this is now our 4th season.
Best believe.
The sisters should get it. If you don't and you're new here,
season 1, episode 1, frenemies.
But don't be thinking that this is the way that women think or women behave. And this is not even just for like opposite genders, but likewise. Don't be thinking that as a man, this is how men should behave. Don't be thinking as a woman, this is how women should behave. Go offline, seek community. As much as we do TMS online, we are all about real life community. We have real friends. We are real friends. This is not like a online personality co-host.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I don't see Courtney.
Yeah.
No. When the camera stopped rolling, I'm like, yo, did you hear?
Yeah.
Yo, we got to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Seek those offline relationships. I think that is going to be our antidote to the gender wars. Please.
So if you want a guide to building lifelong friendships, To My Sisters, buy it. It's great for men and women. It's a guide.
It is a guide.
A guide to building lifelong friendships.
Don't think that. Don't, especially the man them. Don't let the pink.
The book's not even gonna be pink in real life. It's not even pink.
Don't let the pink off put. But sisters, it was a good one. Wow, this is a good one. We would love to know.
Hearty.
It makes me think of marinara, the hearty marinara, hearty Italian pizza,
spaghetti,
you know,
some garlic bread.
Stew.
Oh, stew! Shut up! And what did you put in your stew?
If you felt that was hearty, not only should you buy the book, as you've seen it here. You
There's
guys are going to
so
see this
much more.
book. Oh my gosh! Even the guests when they come on this show, they're going to have to hold up the book.
100%. We'll gift each of them one if they haven't got it already.
Yeah. But sisters, please, we would love to hear your thoughts on the gender wars, constructive thoughts, productive thoughts, your thoughts on it, okay? Feel free to drop it like it's hot in the comments below on our YouTube video. If you're listening over on Spotify, Apple, and all those non-visuals, come over to the visual side. You know what I'm saying?
Or
see
you can
our
stream
faces.
it, just rate us 5 stars.
Yeah, if you're streaming it 5 stars. Guys, please, we want them stars because we're a star.
You know
and
what
you're a
though?
star.
Amen. But you know what though? We are one of like the highest. Whenever I go on a podcast and I see the ratings, I'm like, the sisters be riding now. They drop those ratings.
We really, and go on Apple and just how the TMS
review.
You know, just a cheeky something. But please support us because there's so much work that we want to do in real life for our sisters, and we really could do with your support. On that note, you should support us by following our social media channels at To My Sisterhood on everything.
Yes.
Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, everything. And of course, you can follow our individual glowing and growing journeys. The lovely lady to my left here.
Oh, I'm wearing pastel blue this week.
I
now.
know. Oh my gosh, twins. The lovely lady on the pastel blue and the seashell curls. It's giving me beach. It's giving me brunch. It's giving me belle of the ball.
Waiting for the spring. As a spring baby, I'm waiting for the spring.
We're done out here. But yes, please follow Miss CDB at CD Boateng on everything. And of course, come and say hi over here at Renee Kapuki.
We love to see it. And sisters, if you want them weekly glowing and growing tips, somebody to stick out this journey with you, to expose you to a range of different content, then you need to sign up to the To My Sisters mailing list. We plug you onto books, articles, videos, things that you can watch throughout the week, as well as some articles and tips for you. Just small reminders to remind you that we are here for you on your glowing and growing journey. And so sign up to the To My Sisters mailing list on tomysisters.com. And that'll pretty much be it. We'll talk to you next week. Expect some new stuff in the production quality. I'm just gonna say we're about to be a show, baby. Anyways.
Yes, I need to get a new shirt.
Honestly, so we were talking about this. Okay, the show's over. Keep glowing and growing. Post show gisting. We don't have as many clothes as two responsible, financially responsible people who are trying to create content online that is not surrounding fashion. We don't buy loads of clothes. We own a washing machine and a dryer in our home, and in order to maintain the home, we can't keep buying clothes. And so if you see repeated outfits, XYZs, Girls, we are not broke. We are still high value women. We still care about our appearance. Please, I don't want anybody to be doing. Y'all seem to be wearing the same. Out here glowing and growing. They got a new wardrobe.
Y'all like glow.
At least we've been the same size or around the same size. The clothes still
for the
fit.
past 4 years. 4 seasons. Sorry, 4 seasons. And if you even see us wearing the same thing like 4 weeks in a row, you should.
You know what?
Face your front.
This is the time to get merch. No one cares if you wear the same merch over and over. It says to my sisters. Well, that's the uniform, baby.
You might see something very different in the. Ooh. Keep glowing and growing. Bye.
Bye.